Okay, we'll just go the old-fashioned way to start off with. So this is a sort of a HEA quote, and I put the link to this document in Virtual Learning Environment in Module 1, but I'll put it again in Module 2 for you. And I think I'll just give you the chance to read that through, and then talk a little bit about what the National Student Survey is. So if you look at that first part of this quote, this is kind of really what we've been talking about, that assessment is so important. It kind of, if we think back to our learning model, it kind of drives what students do. It focuses their mind on what they do. But it's also, you know, if universities are anything now in this world where information is so widely available, it's where we're accrediting a standard. We're saying that this person is a graduate, has these capabilities, has these skills. So it's that kind of accreditation as well as this kind of driver for student learning. The National Student Survey is a thing that was introduced in the UK higher education sector a few years ago. It's quite widely criticised, I must say, if you read any literature about it. But it's basically every student in their final year completes this survey, and it's exactly the same. Whatever university, everybody completes the same survey. And there's a number of different areas of questions: how satisfied they were with the course, what was the student experience like, etc. And the one focus of areas where students always give very bad feedback to universities is in the area of assessment and feedback. So they might the scores for the course might be all in the 90s for satisfaction, learning experience, resources, and then it comes to assessment feedback and it dips down to 60 or 70%. So that has really focused people's minds in the UK over the last few years about what we're doing wrong with assessment and feedback. And it really kind of has just, I suppose, brought out into the open when people that have been doing research in higher education, teaching and learning, have been saying for many, many years that assessment is not really fit for purpose. But the National Student Survey kind of made it front and centre of everybody's mind, because it's one of those criteria that students look at when they're choosing university courses. And I suppose in some ways, if every university is getting 95 to 98% on all these other factors, then the one that they're all doing badly, assessment and feedback, is the space where you can stand out. So if you move your assessment and feedback score from 65% up to 85%, you're suddenly going to be standing out amongst the others, whereas the other criteria are not so easy to have a differential between yourselves and your competitors. So that's really the focus of where we're going today.
Sorry, what does league tables mean?
League tables, in the UK, there's many different league tables for universities. So the Times Higher Education supplement is a journal, kind of ranks all universities, and it can be, so you can be the first university for engineering, or you can be the first university for the student experience, or you can be the first university for internationalisation. So there's lots of different criteria. But then there's like overall best university. So I'll bring some up when you're doing the activity and show you what some of this data looks like. So in terms of vice chancellors, these league tables are very important. So in terms of today, what we're going to be focusing on is thinking about redesigning or re-evaluating your assessment processes and instruments, i.e. the tools that you're actually using for assessment, and thinking about how you can either redesign them or just modify them to ensure that they're promoting student learning. Okay? Unfortunately, most of the assessment tools that we use at the moment don't really promote learning. They're just assessment of learning. Do you remember, we'll go through these words again, but some of the descriptors for assessment, so that they need to be valid, reliable, authentic and transparent. So you will evaluate again your own assessment practices and make sure it meets these criteria. I think that the one thing that we're, as the higher education sector has widened in the UK and also here in Turkey, we're getting more diverse students coming into higher education. We're expanding the higher education sector. And we need to recognise that the students are not all, the very top students that are coming into our universities now. So students that did very well at exams, writing very quickly, pouring out, memorising large amounts of information and dumping it out in the exam, that only favours one type of student, okay? And if all of your assessments are the same, whether it's that sort of exam or whether actually, the alternative is all coursework, that's going to favour a different type of student. So by having a diverse range of assessments, then you give equal opportunities, different learning styles, different styles of people will all have the opportunity to excel. Okay, so some students will excel working in groups, some will excel doing problem solving, and we obviously need them all to achieve a certain standard, but if we diversify the assessments, it makes the whole process much fairer. So when you're talking about your assessment processes and then just referring back now to your fellowship application, by saying you use a range of assessments, that is recognising the diverse learning community. So you put that into your values statements. And then finally, think about ways that you can involve students in the assessment processes. And this can really deepen their learning, because if they understand what it is that you're trying to assess, if they understand the criteria that's the difference between a good, a pass, a fail, a first class piece of work, then if they have a better understanding of those criteria, they're going to deepen their understanding and their engagement with it. If the whole assessment process is just a black box where they throw stuff in and you throw stuff out to them and they don't have any idea of what's happening in there, you can't really expect them to improve. Yeah? So we'll think about how we can involve students in things like identifying what assessment criteria are important, the timelines for assessment, giving self-assessment and peer assessment, peer feedback. So all of those different ways that we can think about engaging students with the whole criteria. So that's the focus for today, and we will have some fun along the way as well. Right, can we all remember what all these things mean from last time? So what is a valid assessment? Anybody want to, or do we need to do the quiz again? Okay, the quiz.
A valid assessment is one that assesses what it is supposed to assess.
Yeah, so it's actually assessing the learning outcomes, that's right, yeah. Reliable. Anybody want to hazard a guess at reliable?
It's the assessment instrument. Every time that it is given to the same group of students, it should have the same results.
Yeah, and so and equally, if two different people mark the same piece of work, they'll come out with a similar results. Authentic assessment. Can we remember what that is?
Those assesses real life skills.
Yeah, so it's assessing real life skills. So again, you can think of things like examinations. Once you leave university, you'll probably never do another examination where you're that kind of morning, unseen paper, time limited. You would never ever do that again. So it's not particularly authentic, perhaps. Okay, lovely. Transparent.
An instrument that is transparent is one that whose objective is clear to the students, so the students know exactly what you're measuring.
Yeah. So the objective is clear, and also the assessment criteria are clear. So the students have a clear idea of where they're getting their marks from, what's going to give good marks. Inclusive.
Open for feedback.
Who was that? Right. Yes. Sorry.
Open for feedback. Inclusive, like.
Yeah. Yes.
Comments.
Yes. Yeah. That's one angle of it. It's also.
Does not discriminate against different groups of students.
Yeah, it doesn't discriminate against different groups of students. And I think what you see with that is often one piece of assessment cannot be inclusive to all different types of students. But you need to think about this one really focuses on your kind of strategy overall. So is your strategy overall inclusive? So are you prepared to modify your assessment instrument for different learning needs or different disabilities? Manageable, this is the big one. What's manageable? And you've all just done huh?
Easy to
Yes,
manage.
yes. Yeah, you're all exhausted from doing all that marking of exam papers, and you sort of wonder, is that really the most effective use of your time, perhaps? So often the most authentic and complex assessments end up not being very manageable, so you need to think about ways of managing that. And then the last one, veracity. Does anybody remember what that means? Okay, so that really speaks to the idea that how confident are you that the students haven't cheated in doing this piece of coursework? Okay. And that covers a whole lot of things. So in terms of continuous assessment and coursework, how much is collaborative and how much is sort of collusion, how much is the student's individual own work. Obviously in exam situations, or essays, have they plagiarised from other people's work? Exam situations, have they bought in a discrete mobile device that they can tap into while they're sitting in the exam hall? So how confident are you that what you're marking is the student's own work? Okay, so can we remember this? I've been really mean to you guys this morning, aren't you? Asking you to remember all this stuff from ages ago. Summative and formative. So what is formative assessment? Definition comes up here, it's not particularly useful, but anyway. Formative, what about summative? That's the easy one to define. Yes?
It constructs learning as a habit.
Oh, the formative one, yes.
That focuses on the process of learning.
Yes, the formative one focuses on the process of learning, yeah.
Learning should be a behavior.
Yes. So, anybody want to give me a guess on the summative one? You had it's the test at the end, yeah, so it gives you that summation of the learning, that mark at the end, whereas the formative assessment is something that's driving the learning process forward. So I think the definitions on here are not mine, so here we've got, as you were saying, formation of students' sort of dispositions and actions so to promote their learning. So it's that kind of ongoing, as was mentioned at the front, the ongoing behaviours that we want to encourage in learning. And then a summative assessment is what can you do at this point, at the end of this module, at the end of this academic year. This is the summation of your marks, and you're now graded as a first-class student, second-class student, a failure, whatever it is. But okay, so this slide really just sums up that kind of idea that because assessment has this kind of dual role in terms of driving learning and also grading students and saying whether they've met a standard, there's a kind of, it kind of creates tensions between the roles of, the role of assessment. So the sort of the double, this idea from Bow that there's a double duty. It has to encompass assessment of learning, i.e. we've certified that you've met this standard, but also it needs to promote learning. Okay. So we've got another quote here, which kind of really sums up the whole challenge of designing effective assessments. It has to be rigorous but not exclusive. So that idea that you can stand over and go, yes, this is a valid piece of assessment, and it's really assessing the criteria that I want, but it's not benefiting or disadvantaging certain cohorts of students. It has to be authentic, i.e. reflect real world problems, but also reliable. So I can give some really interesting problem-based learning type coursework for you to work through, and that can be a really authentic learning experience for the students. But there's so many complex factors coming in there. How well do students get information? How well do they work as a team? How well do they communicate? Did they come up with viable solutions? Did they evaluate solutions? Huge, diverse complexity of tasks going on in there. And so immediately, if I look at that, I might think, oh right, the problem solving bit's the most important bit, I'm going to give lots of marks for that. You might think actually it's the going and finding information is really important, and you might think it's the how well they got the group to work together. So we would all kind of, you know, bring in our own unconscious biases into what we think would be a good project, and so therefore if the three of us marked it, we would give the piece of work very different marks. So the more authentic, more complex the assignment, the less easy it is to give a reliable mark. So it has to be exacting while also being fair and equitable. We've kind of really covered that. There's this idea of adhering to standards, you know, of what a degree should be, but also reflecting sort of contemporary needs of employers and all the rest of it. So there's this kind of you know, traditional approach that students need to have a certain amount of knowledge. You know, in order to be a dentist, you need to have all of this knowledge. In order to be an engineer, you need to understand all of this maths and physics. So there's those kind of, you know, yes, this has to be in the curriculum. But we're also thinking about, well, actually, I was at a very interesting engineering conference a few weeks ago, and they were raising the question about how much mathematics engineers really need in the curriculum. When they go into the workplace, there's so many mathematical tools that they use that only a very small percentage of students are actually really doing very complex maths, and the bulk of those engineers are using software programs to do all the maths for them, to do the calculations. So they need a kind of understanding of that, but they don't really need that very rigorous modelling that we're perhaps putting into degree programs. So so there's this idea of meeting the needs, the current needs of industry, as well as kind of having that academic